Chapter 1. Admonitions and Maxims on Abstaining from Lust. Section 1. Admonitions on Abstaining from Lust. The Wenchang God's admonition to scholars on refraining from lust. The Wenchang God declares heaven frequently sends down calamities upon those who are greedy for lust, and a retribution comes swiftly if a person, undeterred by this, continues in his licentious ways without correction or reform. Then disaster may befall him at any moment. In ancient times, during the spring and autumn period, many kings and lords brought ruin upon their states and families through debauchery. The Book of Odes, in its refined verses, offers satirical censure of the wicked. Therefore, those who defy the principles of heaven and indulge in lust are in fact destroying their own innate goodness and forfeiting their good name. Moreover, high honor and the blessings of heaven descend only upon those who preserve their purity and cultivate virtue. Those who, through lust, defile their nature and reputation cannot attain such favors. I have repeatedly admonished this, and how many scholars remain heedless, pursuing momentary pleasure at the expense of their entire future. They harm others through lust and are harmed in turn. They seek springtime delights and pleasure quarters. Then, when cruel retribution arrives, it is too late for regret. In the spring and autumn examinations, I often temporarily remove or bestow official honors. Those whose names I strike from the rolls, who fail despite their merits, are invariably students who have coveted their neighbors, wives and daughters, or who have indulged in lustful misconduct, thereby ruining their own virtue, and thus spend their lives in obscurity and confusion. Such scholars, instead of reflecting on their moral failings, blame heaven and earth. Know that in the examination halls, spirits are ever present throughout the 3 sessions. Ghosts are everywhere. Some candidates, though brilliant and their essays flawless, find their papers suddenly burned by a lamp, or inexplicably blotted with ink, all because they have committed lustful sins, and I have removed their names. Who says heaven is blind? Those who cultivate goodness and accumulate hidden merit often exceed in examinations and receive purple robes of office. Those who achieve the highest honors invariably possess virtuous deeds that move the gods. But those who lack moral cultivation and indulge in lust invariably fail. In short, if one upholds righteousness and refrains from lust, one will eventually attain rank and success. I now issue this new decree, hoping that all will heed and follow it. The Wenchang God's sacred admonition on lust. The Wenchang God proclaims by the decree of the Jade Emperor, on the Yin and Mao days of each month, I descend to the hell of Fengdu to examine the cases of those who have died through sin and fallen into torment. I find that the files of evil deeds are countless, piled high as mountains. Among all the punishments prescribed by heavenly law, none is more severe than that for lust. Anyone who defiles an unmarried maiden shall, after death, suffer 500 kalpas of hellish torment, then be reborn as a mule or horse for 500 kalpas. Only then may they be born as a human, and even then, as a prostitute, to repay their debt. Anyone who schemes to violate a widow or a nun, thereby destroying her chastity, shall suffer 800 kalpas in hell, then be reborn as a sheep or pig to be slaughtered for 800 kalpas, and then be born human, blind and mute. Anyone who commits incest violating younger relatives as an elder, or elder relatives as a younger, shall suffer 1500 kalpas in hell, then be reborn as a snake or rat for 1500 kalpas, and then be born human, doomed to an early death. Furthermore, those who write or produce books or plays that incite lust, thereby destroying the purity and chastity of countless others, these authors or playwrights shall suffer in the endless hell of Avicii, until every copy of their work is destroyed, and until every person who was led astray by their writings has fully expiated their own sins. Only then may they leave that hell and be reborn elsewhere. The harm of such books and plays is immeasurable. Many refined women, reading them, have been inflamed with desire and lost their chastity. Many young men, unable to control their passions, have fallen into solitary vice or actual misconduct, or have practiced perverse acts. All these betrayals of virtue, countless in number, stem from such writings. Therefore, the retribution for their authors is the longest and most terrible. Alas, that scholars blessed with intelligence should not use their pens to benefit the world and accumulate merit, but instead, lacking chastity, create infinite evil, provoking heaven's wrath and bringing upon themselves grievous punishment. This is indeed a sorrowful fate. Admonition on abstaining from lust. Sentient beings commit countless deeds of body, speech, and mind, an ocean vast beyond measure. And among these the obstacle of lust is the hardest to overcome. In this tumultuous world of dust, it is sexual misconduct that is most easily and commonly committed. Many a hero who once shook the world has perished and lost his kingdom. Through it many a brilliant scholar has forfeited his integrity and reputation. As the ages have advanced, this evil wind of lust has only grown fiercer, and morality has nearly vanished. Both the reckless youth of low station and a learned elite are engulfed in licentious desires. At the sight of beauty, they gaze endlessly and dwell upon it, from enslaved to the body. Reason mastered by passion. Even elderly village women deck themselves in seductive attire, beckoning lustful thoughts. Yet all such misconduct is intolerable to heaven and earth. Those who defile another's chastity or besmirch another's reputation shall see their own wives or daughters repaid in kind, or their descendants punished with extinction of lineage. Those who were destined for wealth shall become poor. Those destined for office shall remain obscure. Some suffer imprisonment, exile, and death in life, and after death fall into hell. Hungry ghosts or beasts. Therefore I urge all young men and women to awaken and break the demonic bondage of lust. Know that a fair face is but a skeleton wrapped in flesh. A beautiful form is merely a garment stuffed with filth. Even when facing one as lovely as a flower or jade, regard them as you would your own mother or sister, and honor them accordingly. Those who have not yet transgressed must constantly be on guard. Those who have sinned must resolve to turn back without delay. May everyone exhort and guide one another, so that the lost may find their way, and all may forever preserve their virtue and integrity. Section 2 Maxims on abstaining from lust. Master Zhang Sanfeng said, man stands between heaven and earth, endowed with the 5 elements and endowed with yang vigor. The relationship between husband and wife follows the natural order of ethics. But any intimate relation, beyond that with any other person, is a violation of propriety and an act fit for beasts. Know that killing, though cruel, ends only one life. But to defile another is to destroy the honor of their family for generation. Therefore, rape and violation are most abhorred by the gods and spirits, who bring down dire calamities upon the perpetrator. Moreover, the lustful shall see their descendants die young and their lineages fail to flourish. Young people must recognize that rosy cheeks soon become skeletons and ghostly flames the more beautiful the person. The more they are like a wolf or tiger in fine clothing. Beauty is but a dream, an illusion, ultimately empty. Hence every aspiring youth should constantly maintain a pure mind, a sincere heart, and from endurance, resolutely guarding their chastity. For the sake of the world, they should burn all seductive writings and images. They should also distance themselves from lustful friends. If one can thus uphold virtue and channel all energy into worthy endeavors, success, honor, and blessings will surely follow. Wang Zhu Si, I said the most easily committed evil is lust, and it is precisely lust that most easily brings ruin and calamity. Among all evils, why is lust called the foremost? Because once a lustful thought arises, countless other evil thoughts follow upon seeing beauty without opportunity. One conceives fantasies seeking to seduce without means. One plots obstructed in one's pursuit. One grows angry immersed in desire. One becomes obsessively attached envying others' possessions. One becomes malicious coveting what another has. One contemplates murder. Thus many evils spring from a single lustful thought, which also extinguishes countless good intention. Truly, lust is the foremost evil. Many a pregnant kind people see their descendants decline, and many talented scholars spend their lives in poverty often because of lustful indulgence. To abstain from lust, one must first cut off the lustful mind. For once the thought arises, even without action, the offense is already committed. The scripture of the great High Lord says, upon seeing another's beauty, harbor no private desire. Hence, to cure lust one must guard the mind's purity and sever the lustful root entirely. Those who coerce or entice virtuous women into prostitution shall suffer the harshest punishments in the underworld, and in their next life be born as prostitutes. Widows who preserve their chastity are honored by the spirits. But if they break their vow and secretly consort with men, their sin is great. If they also destroy their family, it is even graver. Maidservants are poor and dependent. Their masters should pity and protect them, not exploit their power to violate them. Those who seduce nuns and destroy their monastic vows shall receive retribution 100 times more severe than ordinary lust. Those who engage in homosexual acts under the guise of friendship, defiling another man's purity, shall be despised and shall suffer calamity. Many who pose as romantic frequent brothels and pleasure quarters, not realizing that the women there are but bait to trap the unwary. Even the cleverest, once ensnared, lose their will, neglect their duties, and ruin their fortunes. If they contract disease, they suffer agonies, die young, and pass on weakness to their children, even extinction of their line. They are scorned by kin and friends. For fleeting pleasure, they incur countless disasters so utterly unworthy. Therefore one must avoid such places and abstain from lust. Elders and teachers who joke about lust before the young do immense harm. Such talk inflames their desires, leads them into habits of lust, and brings them to sickness and early death. Those who delight in such talk shall fall into the hell of pulled-out tongues. Reading pornographic books brings 5 harms. 1. It impedes one's proper work. 2. It wastes one's vital energies. 3. It confuses one's aspirations, for if lent to friends, it harms them. 5. If seen by children, it corrupts them. Speaking of others, illicit affairs incurs 3 sins. 1. Exposing others' shame, to damaging one's own virtue. 3. Offending the gods. Therefore one should never speak of such matters, and if one hears them, should use karmic reasoning to dissuade. In recent times, seductive publications, magazines, pictures, and films have proliferated, especially romantic novels and films that glorify illicit affairs, corrupting the youth and eroding their respect for chastity. Society's morals decline daily. Those in authority, if they would prohibit such materials, would render great service to the young and to society. Marital intimacy, though not forbidden, should not be excessive, otherwise one ages prematurely, has few children, and neglects one's duties. Lust is the first great barrier for the young. If one cannot pass it, all talent and learning count for nothing. The ancients advise that after 30, when the bones are firm and the vitality stable, one is less prone to lust. If one preserves one's essence and energy and applies one's mind to virtuous pursuits, conducting oneself with propriety in all contacts, and avoiding lustful companions, and one may achieve self-cultivation, family harmony, and success. To quit lustful acts one must quit lustful thoughts. To reduce and extinguish such thoughts, one must avoid lustful friends, places, books, magazines, films, and talk. If one observes these 4 prohibitions, over time the lustful mind will wane and abstinence will succeed. Yao Ting Ruo said one person's abstinence is but one person's achievement. Why not, having established oneself, help others to establish themselves, guiding 1 to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to thousands, even to countless future generations, so that all may share in good fruit. Like passing a lamp, 1 lamp kindles 1,000. 1,000 kindle countless, and the light from my hand lights others. Do not let the lamp in your hand go out. Then shall everyone abstain. Everyone enjoy a bright future. Generation after generation shall share the light. Those of great aspiration and great deeds should embrace this broad vision. Master Lian Kai said, when living beings are killed, their cries of agony are plainly audible. But when people indulge in lust, they see only the immediate pleasure and cannot perceive the misery of its retribution until it is too late. This is like putting plain sight into unappetizing food that is the misery of killing, but putting poison secretly into delicious food, so that all delight in it until the poison takes effect. That is the misery of lust. This analogy is well worth pondering. An ancient poem says, borrow not the debts of passion, For swiftly must they be repaid, in your own home awaits the one who'll pay when you have betrayed. Those given to lust, and those resolved to abstain, should remember this poem as a constant warning. Our bodies, hair, and skin, we receive them from our parents, and dare not injure them. This is the beginning of filial piety. If one does not cherish one's body but indulges in lust, weakening the constitution and incurring disease, even infecting oneself with venereal afflictions, bringing anxiety to parents and disgrace to the family, this is the height of unfilial conduct. Therefore, I urge all children, if you have transgressed, quickly abstain, with utmost sincerity and firm resolve. Repent and reform, so as to fulfill your filial duty. By Zhang said, the world grows darker and more turbid, and youth increasingly lose their chastity and lives, because of the flood of pornographic books, magazines, films, and posters that spread the poison of lust. Young people, once inflamed, lose their bearings. Those who cannot resist minor losses include dropping out of school, losing jobs, and wasting their health. Major losses include ruin, death, and extinction of their line. These publications are truly cruel weapons of murder. I beg young people to tear them up whenever they see them. I also beg publishers and authors who among you has no children, no wife or daughter, please stop publishing such seductive materials. I beg filmmakers and artists to stop producing erotic films and images. Do not, for petty profit, destroy countless young lives. I earnestly beg school teachers and parents to instruct and guide the young in virtue and chastity. Finally, I humbly beg officials and elders to deliberate and enact measures to promote chastity and purify social customs. If this is done, all the youth of the realm shall be blessed. I bow in sincere prayer. Parents often neglect one crucial duty, teaching their children about the harm of lust. They think that before marriage children are too young to understand. After marriage, they feel awkward. But young people, inexperienced, do not know that lust injures the body and leads to death. They cannot read the virtuous books. If they listen to dissolute friends and indulge excessively, they may indeed perish. Such cases abound. Parents must, by all means, instruct their children on this matter. Huang Shuyun said sexual misconduct means any improper intimacy with anyone other than one's spouse, or even the mere thought of it. It also includes marital intimacy at improper times, places, or under improper conditions, such as during sacred days. As for prostitutes, they are fallen due to past karma. Instead of pitying them, those who exploit them add to their own karmic debt. To violate young virgins, widows, or nuns is abhorrent to gods and men. Such acts must be strictly avoided. Homosexual acts and bestiality are absolutely forbidden. The scripture of the great High Lord says that even the thought of coveting another's beauty is already a sin if acted upon or habitual. The guilt deepens. When offered beautiful women, declined to preserve their virtue. Why should I scheme to obtain them? The ancients gave dowries to maids to marry them off. Why should I use power to violate them? The ancients ransomed people from servitude. Why should I exploit their distress? The ancients helped couples in crisis reunite. Why should I sow discord and seize another's spouse? If I commit such acts, I bring shame upon my family, lifelong regret, and mortal danger. I shall feel remorse in life and face retribution in hell after death. The victim's resentment will pursue me through countless lives. As a moment's pleasure leads to endless guilt. How can I incur such debts? Therefore one must endure. I must see clearly. Regard others' wives, daughters, or sons as your own, can the elderly as mothers, the mature as sisters, the young as daughters. Then lust will not arise. The Avadamsaka Sutras as bodhisat content with their own spouses, moderate in marital relations, and never covet others' wives. The record of swift retribution says, if I do not violate another's wife, another will not violate mine. The underworld's code says one who violates another's daughter shall have no descendants. One who violates another's wife shall see his descendants violated. Countless cases of karmic retribution for lust exist throughout history. Should we not fear? Know that a beautiful form is but a painted vase full of filth, a brocade bag hiding a dagger, in solitude and darkness. Harbor no improper thoughts even when facing temptation. Guard your virtue. Always remember, do nothing that shames your conscience. Spirits and ghosts surround you. The gods above your head record everything. The kitchen god watches. The 3 worms within your body monitor you. You must never commit lust. If you have done so in the past, turn back now. Read the admonitions on lust often. Never run a business that promotes lust. Never visit prostitutes. Never rape or seduce others, wives or daughters. Never engage in homosexuality or incest. Never violate nuns. Never read or view pornographic materials. Never enter pleasure quarters. Never lead the young astray. Ever teach or praise lust. The Surangama Sutra says, the eye that gazes upon beauty and the act of lust are both called desire fire. Bodhisattvas, seeing desire, flee as from a fiery pit. If one does not cut off lust but practices meditation, it is like cooking sand for ages. It remains hot sand, never becoming rice. Lust is the foremost evil. A single lustful thought betrays one's conscience in heaven, and thus is great disloyalty. It wastes one's vital energy and life, and thus is great unfiliality. Therefore the superior person does not indulge desires, but keeps the mind pure and nurtures virtue. The Abhidhamsaka Sutra says that the sin of lust causes beings to fall into the 3 evil realms, and even when reborn as humans, brings to retribution as 1. An unfaithful spouse, and 2. Frustration in all family affairs. People of the world, you must not commit lust. Do not invite miserable retribution upon yourselves. Section 3. The Rhapsody on Abstain from Lust. In the vast expanse of passion, and the murky realm of desire, even the wise lose their minds, while the foolish are hopelessly consumed. Consider the sacred bond of husband and wife, designed to keep the family path upright and harmonious, so that generations of children and grandchildren may maintain the purity of the home without ruin. Why then drill holes in walls to peek, or seek the illicit mediation of butterflies? Why leap over fences, binding yourself to karmic debts of twisted romance that can never be repaid? Of all evils, lust is the supreme head, its name forever engraved in the courts of the underworld. 100 calamities will descend upon the body, bringing not merely premature death or wasting disease. The heavens will strip away your destined honors, leaving you to lament in empty alleys during your life. Your ancestral line shall be severed, who will be left to bow before your desolate grave when you are gone. Men can recite the doctrine of the mean, yet forget the scriptures that warn to keep distance from beauty. Men read through the Analects, yet ignore the sage's warning against lust in one's youth. When the blood and vital energy are unsettled, how can one's wisdom and folly not be swayed? Even an iron will can be melted by a tender smile. Even a strong man cannot withstand the gentle trap.